Hello everybody, my name's Lexi.
And my name's Jessica.
And today we're going to be showing you how you can actually use LeadAR internally. I feel like most of our practices are using it for obviously patient communication, but you can also use it internally to keep everything organized within your team. So I just wanted to let you know that this is a pre-recorded webinar, but we will be monitoring the chat in case you have any questions at all. But Jessica's going to go ahead and get started with one big thing that we are going to use is task.
All right, guys, so I'm gonna go ahead and take over the screen. So how we get to tasks is we go into the contact section, and then up towards the top we can see tasks right here. We'll just simply click it. And so I'm actually gonna go over 3 different ways that we can do tasks. We're gonna talk about how we can do it manual, we can talk about reoccurring, and then we're also going to show how we can do tasks automated too as well. So first things first is, now that I'm in my task section, is I'm going to go ahead and show you how we can create one manually. So on the top right hand side, we're going to go ahead and just simply click Create Task. Once I do this, here we can fill out the title. Now the title can be generic. It can be just something like follow up with Mary. Then in the description is where we can obviously go into more detail. Hey, maybe she left a voicemail and she had some questions, and I need to remind myself that I need to call her back on the questions that she had. So then once you fill that out, here we can also see the due date and time. So again, completely customizable. How we can change that is we'll just simply click onto the date. We can say, hey, I need to make sure that I call her back by tomorrow, first thing in the morning. And again, time, just simply click onto the time and play around with what you want to have that time period be. Next, what we're going to do, I'm going to skip over reoccurring tasks because I'm going to go over that next. But the nice thing is, right, I use the example Mary. Mary, you know, can be a generic name. You might have 10 Marys that come into your practice. So hey, right, we want to make sure that we are reaching out to the right one. So the nice thing is that we can actually hit select contact and then actually start typing in the actual person that we need to follow up with, just so there's no miscommunication and we're reaching out to the wrong person. So for now, I'm just going to go ahead and choose myself. And then you can decide, hey, who am I going to assign this to? Hey, maybe I have a lot on my plate today. I need to go assign it to Lexi, or I can still assign it to myself too as well. And so how we do that, just simply hit assign to, and then as long as they're created under the My Staff section in your settings, here's where you can see everyone and decide who you want to assign it to, or even just assign it to yourself. So once we hit save, which I'm going to go ahead and just hit discard for now, here is where we can see all of the pending tasks and how it looks completed. You can see right here, it's just a little tiny little circle that is now marked green. You can view it this way. I'm a fan of viewing it in my dashboard. I think it looks a little more cleaner. So I do want to jump into our dashboard just so you can also see how that looks like. So I'm going to go ahead and now click into the dashboard. And then I'm going to go ahead and scroll down until we see tasks. And the reason why I like it here is once I click mark as complete, so all you actually have to do is just hit that little tiny box, it actually disappears. So from where we were just looking at, instead of it disappearing, it's just now that little circle that turns green. So it really, really depends on your preference and what you like. But also just here too as well, you can totally also filter out, hey, right, I just want to look at my tasks and knock them out. So here's where you can also toggle on and off what tasks that are specifically assigned to you and to focus on. But now I'm going to go ahead and go back to contacts, go back to the tasks, and I want to show you reoccurring tasks and some examples on why we would use reoccurring tasks. So you're going to do the same exact thing. You're going to hit add tasks, same thing, do a title and a description. But one thing that could be a good example possibly for reoccurring task is, hey, right, especially maybe if you have a new front desk that you just hired, and right, just to kind of get her in the loop of things or getting her into that routine, maybe the example is, hey, right, as soon as, you know, we open our doors, she should at least spend like the first 25 to maybe 30 minutes checking at any missed calls or unread text messages, emails, Instagram DMs, etc. What we can do, and again, you don't need to have it forever, but I think it's a good example, especially if there's a new hire, just to kind of get her into that routine. And so this is where we can actually toggle on reoccurring tasks. And then again, we can totally tell the system how often, what time. And so here you can do, hey, repeat every day, or we can even do hours, weeks, months, years. Probably won't use years often, but those are the examples or choices that you have. And then again, you can do ends on or never, or choose a certain date. So again, that example of that new employee, hey, maybe just for her first month, she's gonna get that notification every single morning. And I guess another example that you could also use a recurring task is maybe even, hey, right, we should probably maybe once a week be counting our inventory, right? And so that's just another example that we could use reoccurring tasks. And then same thing, right? In this case, we don't really have to assign it to a contact because again, this is just more internal, but we can still totally use, hey, who are we gonna have this responsibility for and who's gonna get this task essentially. So those are the first two. So totally makes sense. I know we all love automated things, but right, it totally might make sense that, hey, this is just a one-off task. I'm just gonna write a little task, a little reminder, hold myself accountable to follow up with this. And then of course, reoccurring tasks, that's also nice too as well. Alrighty, so I'm gonna go ahead and now go into our automations because I wanna also give you an example on, hey, what about making some generic tasks that can be automated based on a certain trigger? So I'm gonna go ahead and click into automations, click into our folder for today, and I'm gonna go ahead and click into canceled appointment. All right, so the trigger is just going to be the appointment status. Hey, once the appointment status is canceled, then it's going to trigger them, hey, that person needs to fall into this automation. So here I actually have two examples that you can do. So of course we can do a task. So again, if it's something that can be tracked every single time and is not a one-off, this is a great example on how, hey, we can just make this an automation. So we basically just have it, hey, anytime someone's appointment status equals canceled, we're gonna go ahead and create that task. And so here I just have a generic message just saying, hey, pulling their full name. So example, hey, John Doe has canceled their appointment. Hey, let's go ahead and reach out to this client to see if they would like to reschedule. And then what I also think is just helpful, hey, the more information that you have, the better. I also just included that person's email and phone number. And then same thing, hey, right, if you want to, anytime somebody cancels their appointment, hey, I want this task to go to my front desk. I'm going to go ahead and assign it to whoever my front desk person is. And then again, we can totally tell the system when we want this due. So in this example, I just have, hey, you have 2 days to try to connect with them. I'd probably do it more like 1 day, but again, totally customizable. And then here I added another one. You could have both. You can do a task and an internal notification. Might be overkill, but again, it's whatever works best. So the other option that you can do instead of task is you can just do a plain old internal notification. And again, this is completely up to you. There's 3 different ways that you can receive an internal notification. It can be through a text, through an email, or just a regular notification right in the LeadAR app or the desktop. Again, totally up to your preference and what works best for who. But again, this is just another example is, hey, instead of tasks, maybe I do better with just getting that internal notification. So again, very similar. It's going to be the same exact message, but I just wanted to give you 2 different examples. But yeah, those are the 3 different ways on how we can use tasks internally, and then also kind of just slightly touching on internal notifications too as well.
All right, so now that Jessica's kind of finished up talking about tasks, I'm going to show you another way that you can use LeadAR, and it's actually assigning people to different conversations or a particular patient. But the first thing that you're going to want to do is go into your automations tab again, and then I'm going to show you how you can automatically assign people to your front desk. The reason why we kind of want this automated is because there's not a bulk action where you can just assign it to everyone to go to your front desk. So you need to kind of come in here first before we start utilizing this feature. So now I'm going to go ahead and click into this, and I'm going to show you kind of how this flow is going to work. So the trigger is going to be that a contact was created, so any new contact that comes into LeadAR. And then we're going to have this little if-else statement trying to decipher if they are a new patient or not. You can have this step or not if you want to, but I think it would be good to assign your front desk to somebody that is a new lead, essentially. So whenever I click into this, there's going to be two different branches, and one is that they're going to have the tag of your practice, or they're not. If they have the tag of your practice, then that means that they have a patient profile and aesthetic record, which likely means that they are a patient that you currently have. And if they're not, then we can assign it to your front desk or whoever. So in this case, we're going to say no, they are not a current patient, and I want to assign them to my front desk. So when I click into here, this is just a simple little way that you can do it, but it's going to be assigned to user. And then you can choose your front desk as they have to have a staff profile, and you can assign it to them there. So now any new leads are going to go to that specific person. And then I'm going to click save, and then you'll publish that before we're going to kind of go back into our conversations tab, and I'm going to show you kind of why this is important. So now that this is done, I'm going to kind of go back here. And I'm going to go into the Conversations tab. I'm going to give you a brief overview of this and how you can use it internally as well. But when I click into here, you can kind of see all of your conversations. So whether it's through Instagram, Facebook, text, call, chat widget, anything that you can think of, all of your conversations are all right here, which is really nice. But you also want to make sure that you can keep it organized a little bit. And the best way to keep this organized is filtering. So when you click into here, right now I'm in all messages, so you can actually go to unread, recent, starred conversations that you have. But in this case, I just want to filter out all of them. So I'm going to click into here, and I'm going to click into filters. And this is where you can do chat or assign to or unassigned. So if they don't have anybody assigned to them and you want to assign them, you can do that there. And then you can also do followers, which I'll go over in just a second. Mentions, inbound, outbound. I really like this one the best though. It's the last message channel. So you can filter by like emails or SMS. I feel like SMS is a big one in LeadAR. So if I were to click that and click apply, it's just going to show me all of my text messages. So it's easier to kind of focus in just on that specific channel. But now that I've kind of given you a little overview of that, I want to click into a contact and show you some different features that you might not be looking at when you're responding back to a patient. So I'm just going to click back into the contacts real quick, and I'm just going to go to a random person. So here, this is what I'm talking about. If we were to have that automation on, they would automatically be assigned to that front desk person. So here you can see you can manually do it, but I feel like that's going to be kind of a pain. So I would just have this automated, but there you can kind of see who is assigned to them, who's in charge of this patient. And you can also have followers. So followers is just a way that maybe you're not completely assigned to them, but you want to follow the conversation and get internal notifications or messages when this person is texting you, calling you, whatever. So when you click into followers, you can easily just add a follower on there, so you can kind of be looped in on all communication with that specific patient. Another one that you can use internally is internal comment as well. So let's say, I know that your clinics are pretty busy, and let's say that you're in the middle of responding to somebody, but your appointment just got there, and you want to tag somebody to go ahead and follow up with this person because it was urgent or whatever the issue might be. So if you're in their contact, you can click on internal comment, and actually you can @ someone. So any user that's in your system, you can click @, and you could say like, hey Dawn, please follow up with this lead. Or like give them a call. And whenever you click send, it'll send them a notification, and you can kind of see it right here. And a big thing about this too is you can see that I actually did that. So here, these little initials are kind of important because if you want to see, oh, I'm not sure who responded to that person, you can go kind of throughout their little patient history. This one's not a good example, but you can always see who's responding. So then if you have to, pull them for a separate conversation and just talk to them about that specific patient, you'll know who to talk to because they're the ones that have been in communication with them as well.
Yes, another thing that I also just want to touch base on too, hey, what's the difference between having someone assigned and having no one assigned is if you actually are assigned to that specific contact, you will get every single notification. It'll say something like, so-and-so that you're assigned to has sent you a message. And I can't stress enough that I think that's so important, especially when it comes to new leads, because, right, we definitely want to put as most attention to them as possible because, of course, hey, right, we want to be able to win them over and get them to book in. But yes, and then maybe after we win them over, hey, maybe we can just unassign them. I mean, regardless, right, we should always be checking our unreads, but I just think it's just a nice thing to touch on is, hey, especially if they're a new lead and a hot lead, let's definitely assign someone to that conversation so we get notified anytime that they message back.
Yeah, just super quick and urgent. So yeah, I think that's a great comment as well. But one other thing that I kind of wanted to go over, just another thing in the conversations tab, you can find it in your conversations or your marketing tab. There's just two different places. It's the same thing. But whenever you're here, you can also click into trigger links. And trigger links are also an easy way to easily send out your booking link. So here you can have as many as you want, any type of links that you want, a funnel link to send out, whatever it might be. But if you find yourself kind of copying and pasting your links and going to your AR portal every time, you might as well just go ahead and make a quick trigger link for that so you don't have to do that every single time. But let's say you're in the middle of a conversation, right? And you want to send them your trigger link. What you can do, because these are kind of a little bit confusing down here, but you can click on this little plus sign. And if you scroll down to the bottom, you'll see trigger links, and there's going to be your booking link. So you can easily just find it right there by doing those couple of steps versus going to a whole nother tab and finding your booking link. It just saves you a little bit of time there. But that kind of wraps up a little bit about conversations and how you can use those to your benefit for internal use and just staying organized in that way. But another thing that I kind of want to switch gears into is your marketing tab and also your media storage. So, right, all of you have probably seen our email templates and are trying to edit them yourself. And one thing that I think could be so beneficial and save you a lot of time, or even assign a task to your front desk person to do this, but you can go to your media storage, and this is where all of your media is gonna live. And every time that you're trying to upload a new picture into an email template or a funnel, whatever it might be, I would just stack this with so many before and afters, so many pictures of your team, your logos, anything that you've tried to find yourself going to find whenever you're doing an email template. It's just easier to just already have it done. Or maybe you have, somebody that does a bunch of different Canva images for you, or, before and afters, whatever it might be. Just go ahead and upload them here. So when it comes time to edit your email templates or even a social post, you can just have it right here and done instead of having to scramble to go back and forth and find it every single time. But that kind of takes me to our next topic, which is the social planner. And Jessica's going to kind of give you a brief overview of how you and your team can use that.
All right, guys, the next thing that we're gonna go ahead and go over that Lexi just mentioned is the social planner. So in our social planner section, we can schedule out posts a couple weeks ahead, a month ahead, but essentially, right, we are able to make those Instagram posts or those Facebook posts right inside of LeadAR. So one thing that I've definitely seen is a lot of you guys have a designated person, or at least someone that helps out in terms of creating that content for you guys to post. And so a really cool feature in here is that we can actually, as long as that person, that social media person, has a login and has access to LeadAR, they they can actually create it all. They can create the post, the caption, but of course, right, probably there's somewhere where we need some sort of approval process before they actually have it being posted. And so there's actually a place where, hey, instead of being able to just post it right away or even just scheduling it out, what we can actually do is, hey, I'm going to send this to whoever I need to send this to in order for them to approve it, and then I can have it be sent out. So I just think it's a nice way, and it might be maybe more of an easier way instead of maybe texting back and forth, or even just a more professional way too. Again, obviously this is all up to you guys, but I'm going to go ahead and kind of show you what that looks like. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is click Create New Post. I'm going to go ahead and just click Create New Post. I'm going to go ahead and just choose our social account. So I'm going to use just our test dummy account that we have here. I'm going to go ahead and just upload an image from our media library that Lex just went over. So I'm going to go ahead and just choose a random photo that's in our media library. And so here, right, that's where I can obviously do my hashtags, my captions, whatever I want here, but this is where we can send it to approval, right? Lexi's my boss, right? I cannot post this until I get her approval. So I'm gonna go ahead and hit under that little like drop down right next to the button or on the button that says post. And what I'm going to do is actually send post for approval. So I'm going to go ahead and click into here. And so here you still have to choose the date and time that you are planning on this post to go out. So I'm going to go ahead and actually, let's just say, hey, I'm planning for this to go out on Friday. And let's say I want to do it roughly almost 1 p.m. Here's where, hey, I need to select who is going to approve. In this case, Lexi is my boss, so I'm going to go ahead and look for her name. There she is. And then the really cool thing too is I can even add a note. So maybe I was going back and forth with captions, you know, hey, the one that I have here I like the best, but here is my second option for my caption, already just kind of getting ahead of the game. So here again, I can type in whatever message. I'll just say, what do you think about this? And then I can actually go ahead and hit schedule and send for approval. And even though we are setting up the date on when we want it to be scheduled, it won't get scheduled until Lexi actually approves it. So I'm going to go ahead and hit schedule and send for approval. All right, so now that we have done that, you can see, also here, it's just good to know, is that you can see obviously any ones that are being scheduled, or in this case, you can see the status in this case is in review, etc. So I'm logged in as myself. So now I want to show you, okay, well, what does that look like on Lexi's side? How does that look? How do I approve it? If I want to message and say, no, that caption is not it, what we can do, I want to show you that too as well. So I'm going to go ahead and now log in as Lexi and show you what that looks like. All right, guys, so I went ahead and logged out, and now I'm logged in as Lexi. So now I'm pretending I'm Lexi, and I am going to go ahead and see what I have in here that needs review. So here you can see, right, we can see that post that I just did. And so now all we can do actually is we just simply click on it. So here we can see it. I love that you get the preview. This is where you can obviously see the visual, the captions and hashtags that might be there, which I did not do, but pretend there's a caption and hashtag there, right? Whatever is on this post in preview mode. And so here you actually have the option to hit approve, then you're good to go. But if you're not happy with it, or we want to change the wording a little bit, or maybe add or subtract a couple of hashtags, little things like that, what you can actually always do too as well is hit reject. And then, right, this is where Lexi can type like, hey, don't really like this caption. Can we, you know, maybe change it to this or something like that? And then hit reject, and then same thing. Now I'll get that message back, and essentially you can kind of keep going back and forth. But I just think this is a nice outlet that you can always use too as well, instead of just constantly texting back and forth. You know, again, it really is what's going to work best for the two. But I just thought this is just a cool little thing that I feel like not many people know.
Yeah. And another thing that I wanted to add too is if maybe, let's say that you're a girl boss that just wants to do it yourself. Me, I always like to just do it myself sometimes. If you don't want to kind of, it's rejected and do the notes thing, you can actually just edit it yourself and say, hey, I love that idea. I'm just gonna, she's already given me the other captions that I can put in there and I just want to go ahead and do it and get it done. You can just click edit post and it'll take you right to there, and then you can just do it and then schedule it out. So I also think that that's just a good option as well. If you already kind of know what you want, it doesn't have to be a back and forth conversation. You can just quickly click there, edit it, post it, get it done, and it's all good to go. So that's just another option as well.
Yeah. All right, guys, the last thing that we're going to be going over today is some reporting, and we're going to go over the call reporting and also the appointment reporting. So I'm going to head over back into LeadAR, and I'm going to go ahead and just go on my left-hand side and click into reporting, and then up towards the top you can see kind of all the reports that we have. But for now, I'm going to click into call reporting, and so here it's just nice to get some numbers. You can also see things like, hey, how many missed calls are we averaging, or how many average are we actually picking up the phone, right? I think it's just really nice to see that, to see those metrics, especially sometimes too as well as, right, front desk might have more than obviously just one job of just answering phone calls. So it's kind of also nice to kind of just see like, hey, like, do we need to hire another person to also maybe take some of the other tasks that they're taking on, right? So just being able to see metrics like that too as well. You can also tell, also just like the average duration of the call too as well. I think that's also helpful too. Hey, are we spending too much time talking? Are we not spending enough time talking? I think those are also just nice too. And so I'm just gonna go ahead and scroll. You can also see all calls, you can see incoming, outgoing, but I just think it's also just nice to have these quick reports that you can just look at too as well. So now I'm gonna go ahead and go into appointment reporting. And so here, I think this is also a nice place too as well to just get a bunch of averages. Hey, on average, you know, month to month, how many people am I getting to no-show, right? And how can we maybe make that better? Same thing on, hey, how many on average am I getting, you know, canceling? And again, how can we make that better? But also we can obviously see the more positive things. Hey, right, how many bookings am I getting on average each month? I think that also helps you to also plan, and also just with calendars and everything like that. I think it's nice to kind of get that nice average too as well.
Another thing too, sorry, I was just gonna jump in.
You're good.
Another thing too is whenever you were talking about planning, like I feel like if your schedule is filling up pretty quickly and maybe like you're booked out for 2 months, it's also a great way to start planning to hire somebody. So, you know, if you're noticing that you're completely booked for the next 3 months and you don't have any open slots, then maybe this is a report that you can pull to show you those numbers and then make your decision on putting out an application to start hiring for that specific role. And I don't know if you're about to go over this, but another thing that I wanted to show is also the date reporting. Yep. So you can do like this week, last week, month, year. I always think like the year is pretty good as well. And then, you know, or if you wanted to do more of like specific month to month reporting, I think that either way you can do it that way. And same for if we were to go back to calls, you can average it that way, but this thing is kind of hidden up here, so I just wanted to mention that as well.
Yes, totally. And then really briefly too as well that I just want to go over is just kind of remembering on how AR and LeadAR talk to each other. So when we see booked, confirmed, canceled, all of that, and how they talk to each other, just so we understand. So booked is going to be every kind of appointment. That is going to include your confirmed, your canceled, showed, invalid, no show. So what should happen is, hey, if you add all these up, that should totally end up being that grand total that we see right here. So I know it can get a little confusing because you think booked, right? But how AR and LeadAR talk to each other is, hey, any kind of appointment that's booked, doesn't matter whether you booked it for them or they booked it themselves, it actually in LeadAR comes over as confirmed. So think of it that this is booked appointment / confirmed. Booked is really just, hey, every kind of status all together. So I just would love to point that out just so there's never any confusion. Obviously canceled too, right? Hey, as long as you cancel an AR, it's gonna reflect in LeadAR. New does not, nope, don't even pay attention to the new section. Showed, that does, as long as you're hitting that green little button when they come in and hit that check-in, that will totally reflect. So anyone who's not, try to get in the habit of that. No-show too as well. Again, as long as you mark that no-show in aesthetic record, it's going to reflect. And then I also want to show invalid too as well. So invalid, if you're ever confused, if you get numbers populate there, you're like, what does that mean? All that means is, hey, again, right, all of your calendars sync over into LeadAR. We made it where, hey, if anyone is putting in PTO or, you know, certain days or hours that they're not working, hey, obviously that's not a real appointment, so we don't want it to come over as an appointment. So, and we want our numbers to try to be, you know, as clean and accurate as possible. So if that's basically what happens, anyone who puts in PTO in aesthetic record, it's just gonna come over as an invalid appointment, just so there's no confusion and not any misleading numbers. The numbers aren't right, or, you know, not adding up essentially. But yeah, that's everything for today's webinar. I hope you guys gained some insights on how to kind of just use the system more internally, and kind of be a little more organized, to give you some ideas on maybe things that you want to implement while using LeadAR, and having everything be as smooth as they can in your practice. But yeah, that kind of wraps it up. But if you guys have any questions, of course, totally leave it in the chat and we'll get back to you, or even just send us an email at the info@myleadar. But yeah, we will see you guys next month. Bye guys.